It's been 9 years since the 34 mine workers were killed. They were protesting for a raise to 12,500 rand in salaries. In the run-up to this incident, 10 people were killed. With each commemoration, old wounds are exposed. And to speak to us about the vision of a better future in Marikana, I'm joined by Archbishop Thabo Makgoba. Arch, good evening, and thank you so much for your time this morning. In fact, good morning. I'm so used to working in the evening. One of the things that when you look at a story like this and you really speak to different people, different parties, the pain is still there. 9 years later, a lot of them still say they left with so many unanswered questions. What does the process of healing then begin to look like?
Thank you, Bongi. I also here said good evening because we see you on our television screens only in the evening. But you're right, Bongi. Marikana was the day that changed South Africa. It lifted a mirror to a country that allowed this to happen. And that mirror that says we need to reflect on ourselves. But as a pastor, death of any human being is painful. It's not about the numbers. And I just want to paint a context that may help us towards the process of healing. And the context is at the beginning of the lockdown and COVID-19. I prayed for the souls of all the faithful departed and those that will die suddenly and unprepared. And a number of our friends, your colleagues, our colleagues are dying during the scourge of this coronavirus. A number of people in this women are dying due to gender-based violence. And we've had a number of people dying in KZN, in Phoenix, and then globally we have people dying in Tigray, Afghanistan, and Sudan. So that is a mirror. That is a mirror to say something awry is happening, and we need to know that narrative. But that narrative is also helped by the moral courage and the outrage of the people of Marikana and South Africans when we say, not in our name. We need to build something lasting, powerful, that reflects, even if it's idealism, but something that reflects a better future, the destiny that we want for our children, our children's children. And so I think therein lies the beginning of healing. And once we've done that, we definitely need to then be practical and say, what are the tangible things that we can put? I went to Rwanda a couple of years ago, Bongiwe, and I was shocked when I went to the genocide memorials. And I said, no, you can't memorialize people in this way and put their bones and skulls and all those things. But that shocks me, but I realized that if you have such, that can never be repeated again, hopefully in Rwanda. Maybe more than a apartheid museum, we need places with photographs, names and faces of those that died in Marikana to remind us that left to ourselves, we can just wipe each other off the face of this earth, and those memorials are a reminder and are a process of healing. And in a small way, we hope that our process in Marikana will also provide that.
And I remember, back then in 2012, the church also played quite a significant role in trying then to, bridge the gap between the various parties. But it looks like things are still, somewhat difficult. Talk to us about then the role that is played by such a process of renewal, especially in reconciling this community with those that need to protect it, and that's the police, and at the same time, the mine that then needs to, uplift their lives in a way.
Right, the narrative that I've painted and the narrative in South Africa maybe needs to be enlarged a bit that it has to be the church, you are right, with this prophetic voice saying, not in our name, as Bishop George Yoka, the SACC and the others did then, as some of us, that painful memorial service called for calm and peace. The mining sector needs to play its part. The housing department, that is the government, needs to play its part. I saw one of your pictures, the interview, somebody walking in some of the townships in Marikana, not the beautiful houses, but the old township. The streets are bare. Maybe Department of Agriculture, Togotides and the others could create an opportunity to plant trees, to green some of those dusty streets, and in that way the youth can be gainfully employed and they can decorate the area. The memorial is one. The mining community has to play its role. The housing, the local businesses, the churches, the media. So that is South Africa, and it's an indictment to all of us. And the policies of South Africa also need to be intentional in looking at how we service not only Marikana, but some of the lived reality of many poor people in South Africa.
And how difficult is this process, especially when you look at the fact that 9 years on, the families are still saying that they would love for the now President, Cyril Ramaphosa, to go to Marikana as he promised. And you'd remember he did make this undertaking at the funeral of Mamwini Madikizela Mandela. And today we're still hearing families saying that they'd really love for him to come to them, as he was the non-executive director for Lonmin at the time. So how difficult then becomes the process of healing if such figures are not near the people to answer some pertinent questions?
Look, we need to close the social distance between the leaders and the people on the ground. My appeal in terms of this healing cycle that I'm talking about really is, and gone are the days of the magic wand done by one leader. And I'm saying it must be the mining community, it must be the housing, it must be the business, it must be us. We must just look at this mirror and say, how do we take an area where there has been such pain and work together? If the president joins, it will still remain symbolic. And I'm just saying, can we get our hands dirty and be involved in the process of praying for the repose of those that died, and look at the scholarships that have been provided for some of the children and families, and then we top up. Look at other government departments that could really help beautify Marikana and create jobs. Look at the water department and everyone. And I don't really put a lot of weight on just the president going and doing a symbolic, I am sorry. Not symbolic, I'm sorry, it's important. But the difficult part is when we as South Africans maybe don't just point fingers, but say, not in our name, for the sake of the people of Marikana, for the sake of the workers. Let's get the unions. Let's do it for South Africa, for our children, our children's children. Let's push for policies that will affirm people and not demean them further. Let's memorialize that story so that it remains a mirror to our psyche, a mirror to all of us, to ensure that that does not happen again. Let's have the moral courage to show our outrage at the fact that people were treated that way and are still treated that way, but not end there. Do something tangible. I was looking at something, somebody in the Eastern Cape has partnered with Tastic Rice to give student scholarships. Let's partner with some of the people we disagree with, we never see eye to eye with, but to make South Africa work.
Do you think there's political will for that?
There has to be political will, but also there has to be communal determination, because The politicians represent a particular sector and percentage of our populace, and we are in the majority compared to those that have got this power through the vote.
And when, we wrap up this conversation, one of the things that the families keep on crying about is justice. They say that people are not behind bars, especially for, the killings that took place there. In your sense, and I know that you've spoken to quite a number of them, what does justice look like?
Justice for me has got to do with hearing the stories of those families, their narrative, their longing, what are some of their needs. And justice for me means those families not fighting alone for reparation, for equitable distribution of the pain, but we as South Africans carrying part of that pain. Justice for me means really putting practical, tangible steps that could beautify, create jobs in Marikana, and not only for the 44 families. And justice for me means looking at the IDP plans of the local municipality and the mining to see whether they've created a fund or activities that could specifically help the 44, but also help the people of Marikana to be gainfully employed and to be proud South Africans that are part and parcel of bringing solutions to the challenges that they face and we all face.
Archbishop, I do hope that that actually happens, because it can't be that, we even inch closer to the 10th anniversary next year and things remain the same. Thank you so much for your time. We certainly do appreciate it here on the show. That was Archbishop Thabo Makgoba as we're looking at the renewal. And where to from here? Because, one of the journalists yesterday described the story as depressing because nothing changes and the healing process then becomes more important.